I want to bring your attention to New York, where 41-year-old Linda Sun was arrested. Linda worked in New York state government for about 15 years. She's a Chinese immigrant who moved to the United States with her parents at a young age and later became a naturalized U.S. citizen. Well, in one of Linda Sun's latest state positions, she was supposedly working in Asian American affairs, but she was really just helping herself and her own family as a spy for the Chinese government. She received millions of dollars to infiltrate New York state government and do the bidding for the Chinese government. We're going to get into it, but first, take a second to make sure you're subscribed to the channel and click the notification bell for all updates. Won't waste any time, let's jump into it.
Former aide to two New York governors, including Kathy Hochul, is now charged as an agent for the Chinese government. The indictment alleges numerous crimes from money laundering to kickbacks and visa fraud. Let's get right to Good Day's Lizette Nunez. She is live outside the governor's Manhattan office on the east side with more. Lizette, good morning.
Good morning, Tashani. Well, prosecutors allege that Linda Sun used her position to help the Chinese government, at the same time also receiving millions of dollars worth of kickbacks. Now, Governor Hochul did confirm that Linda Sun worked in her office for about 15 months, but did not say why she was fired. The governor said she was just not at liberty to share those details, but she said that information will be coming out soon during court proceedings. Linda Sun, a former aide to Governor Kathy Hochul and former Governor Andrew Cuomo, has been charged with acting as an agent for the Chinese government. Sun is charged with failure to register as a foreign agent, visa fraud, alien smuggling, and money laundering conspiracy. Her husband, Chris Hu, a businessman, was also charged with money laundering conspiracy. Both pleaded not guilty in Brooklyn federal court.
We think that these charges are disappointing, that they are the product of an overly aggressive investigation.
Prosecutors believe Sun acted as a Chinese agent to advance the communist agenda while she worked as deputy chief of staff to Governor Hochul. Investigators accuse Sun of blocking Taiwanese officials from having access to the governor's office. Her husband is accused of facilitating the transfer of millions of dollars of kickbacks and laundering the money through bank accounts opened under a relative's name.
They said her husband, Chris, who was a businessman but didn't tell you the business. From my understanding, he's the owner of a liquor store in Flushing, Queens.
Prosecutors believe the money was used to purchase the couple's $4.1 million Manhasset home, a $2.1 million condo in Hawaii, and a 2024 Ferrari. According to the indictment, among the other benefits received included tickets to events and salted ducks, which prosecutors say went to Sun's parents from a Chinese consulate official's private chef. The couple's Manhasset home was raided by the FBI in July.
I'm furious and I'm outraged and absolutely shocked at how brazen her behavior was. It was a betrayal of trust, the trust of government, the trust of the people. And I'll tell you this, the second we discovered some levels of misconduct, we fired her. We alerted the authorities.
And listen, I'm no fan of Kathy. Kathy is a DEI hire. She finessed her way into this position as the governor of New York State. She's a proud feminist, infiltrating her own feminist agenda into New York State government. But I do believe she was right for getting rid of Linda Sun and reporting her to the FBI. I still wonder though, if her alliances were different and she was a Taiwan spy instead of a China spy, would she still have been indicted? But they definitely did the right thing busting City Girl Kung Fu Keisha.
Sun is also accused of forging Governor Cuomo's signature.
Hey, don't let this little woman fool you. We're talking about a high-level scammer up here forging people's signature. And not just anybody, the governor of New York. When Cuomo was the governor and she was his deputy chief, she was up there signing his name. If you needed any more proof of her city girl status, this is it.
Investigators believe Sun also influenced the governor's office to publicly praise Chinese officials for sending ventilators to New York during the COVID-19 pandemic. The archive post found on X where Cuomo thanked the Chinese government.
And think about it, if they had people infiltrating the state level, getting them to get state officials to praise these folks, where are the people they use to infiltrate federal government as well? Congress members from New York State, Hawaii, to get these C-19, aka the Asian hate crime bill, and come up with all this propaganda for them to push that. All of this is connected in some way, but the news won't tell you. Linda's son also had multi-million-dollar homes in both Hawaii and New York. That's where the Asian Congress members who wrote that bill came from.
Son and Hu did not address reporters.
A lot of the allegations in this indictment are frankly perplexing, overly inflammatory. As you heard in court today, we're looking forward to our day in court. The defendants are exercising their right to a speedy trial as soon as they can. We have a lot of confidence in Chris and in Linda.
Sun and her husband posted bail and they were shortly released. Now, Sun is not allowed to have any contact with the Chinese consulate. The two will be back in court on September 25th. That's the latest here from the east side. Dan, back over to you.
Tracking it, Lizette. Thank you very much.
Linda's son, 41 years old, and her husband, Chris, who 40 years old, they're out on bond. The bond amount was $1.5 million for Linda and $500,000 million for Chris. They've been instructed not to have any contact with the Chinese government, and their travel is limited to New York City, Long Island, Maine, and New Hampshire. So no other parts of New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, but they can catch a flight to Maine and New Hampshire? Why not just restrict them to the city and Long Island? They got millions spying on the government. 2 homes, a $4.1 million home in New York, a $2.1 million home in Hawaii, a bunch of cars, including a 2024 Ferrari. Like, really? These people shouldn't be able to go anywhere.
I think, when people say diversity and inclusion, I think everybody agrees, or most people generally agree that it's a good thing, right? But I think right now we also need to bring in the word equity, right? Diversity is when you say that there's, many different types of people with different backgrounds and they're all, invited to the table. Inclusion is when, we include all of their ideas. But equity is when we make sure that all of the people who are at the table have equal access to making sure that their ideas and their thoughts are heard. And unfortunately, I think some of the statistics that you quoted is that we don't have that much leadership.
You can't make this stuff up. That's Linda's son, the DEI hire, talking about DEI and equity while getting all of her equity from the pockets of China. At the same time, she's collecting checks from the New York state government. Then she's talking about inclusion, allowing China in, but shutting out Taiwan. I can't. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Let me know what you think about this below. Special thank you to Darius. I appreciate you, Darius, for all of your support, as well as my sister Starlet. Shout out to Solomon, Hendricks, and Roland C. Don't forget that you can support this channel as well. Links to Cash App and PayPal are below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to like and share.